Article 210.23 of the National Electrical Code states that in no case shall the load exceed the branch circuit ampere rating. The question is related to exceeding this rating during startup currents, specifically with heat trace requiring 35 amps on a 30 amp circuit for a short period. While Article 210.23 doesn't explicitly address exceptions for short duration high current loads, several other articles offer guidance. Firstly, Article 430 pertaining to motors in Section 430.22e allows for overcurrent devices to protect motor circuits where the motor nameplate current does not exceed an amount not more than 6 times the continuous load for a period of 10 seconds and 3 times the continuous load for 1 minute. Secondly, Article 625 addresses electric vehicle charging systems in Section 625.43b. This section allows for overcurrent protection devices rated not less than 125% of the branch circuit rating, where the inrush current does not exceed 3 times the branch circuit rating for not more than 2 seconds. It is important to remember that NEC Section 210.8 requires electrical systems to be designed to endure the normal and abnormal conditions of service, including transient currents. NEC Section 110.10 states that the rules in the NEC are minimum requirements and do not supersede other codes or regulations that impose additional restrictions. A critical factor is the circuit breaker trip curve. This curve specifies the time-current relationship at which the breaker will trip. If the startup current duration and magnitude fall within the trip curve, the breaker will not trip. Another important consideration is the equipment manufacturer's recommendations. If the manufacturer of the heat trace recommends a 30 amp circuit, it suggests the equipment will operate safely within those parameters, including startup currents. In conclusion, while Article 210.23 does not explicitly address startup currents, exceptions and guidance are provided in other NEC articles. Considering the motor exception, the electric vehicle charger guidance, and the circuit breaker trip curve, it's reasonable to conclude that using a 30 amp circuit for a heat trace with a startup current of 35 amps for 60 seconds may not violate Article 210.23, assuming the circuit breaker's trip curve accommodates the inrush. However, it is always advisable to consult with local authorities and obtain their approval before proceeding. In situations involving startup currents, it's essential to consider several key aspects of electrical system design and applicable codes. Let's explore these in more detail. Firstly, the concept of inrush current, also known as startup current, refers to the momentary peak current drawn by an electrical device when it is first energized. This current can be significantly higher than the device's steady-state current. For instance, motors, transformers, and some electronic devices, like those with switching power supplies, often exhibit high inrush currents. Secondly, understanding circuit breaker trip curves is crucial. A circuit breaker's primary function is to protect an electrical circuit from overcurrent conditions, preventing damage to equipment and reducing the risk of fire. Circuit breakers don't trip instantaneously when the current exceeds their rated value. Instead, they have a time current characteristic, often represented by a trip curve. This curve indicates the amount of time a breaker will take to trip at various overcurrent levels. If the startup current's duration and magnitude fall below the breaker's trip curve, the breaker will not trip. Breakers are designed to tolerate short duration overcurrents, like those experienced during motor starting, without tripping. Thirdly, NEC Article 430 provides specific guidelines for motor circuits. Motors often have high inrush currents during startup, and Article 430 recognizes this. It allows for overcurrent protection devices to be sized larger than the motor's full load current to accommodate the startup surge. The specific rules depend on the motor's horsepower, type, and application. In the context of the NEC, continuous load is defined as a load where the maximum current is expected to continue for 3 hours or more. Branch circuits supplying continuous load shall have an ampacity not less than 125% of the continuous load. This means the overcurrent device, such as a circuit breaker, should be rated at least 125% of the continuous load. Article 625, which covers electric vehicle charging systems, offers additional insights. Electric vehicle chargers often have specific requirements for overcurrent protection, and the NEC provides guidance on sizing the circuit breakers and conductors for these systems. The provisions in Article 625 recognize that EV chargers may have unique load profiles, including periods of high current demand. Now let's consider the specific case of heat trace systems. Heat trace is used to maintain the temperature of pipes or equipment, preventing freezing or maintaining process temperatures. These systems often use resistive heating elements, which may exhibit a moderate inrush current during startup. The manufacturer's recommendations are paramount. Always follow the manufacturer's guidelines for circuit breaker size, conductor size, and other installation requirements. Manufacturers design their products to operate safely and effectively within specific parameters. The NEC provides minimum requirements, but the manufacturer's instructions may be more stringent. It is also important to be aware of local codes and regulations. Electrical codes can vary from one jurisdiction to another. Local authorities may have additional requirements or interpretations of the NEC. Always consult with local electrical inspectors or a qualified electrical engineer to ensure compliance with all applicable codes and regulations. Another critical aspect is conductor sizing. The conductors supplying the heat trace must be sized appropriately to carry the expected current. The NEC provides tables for determining the ampacity of conductors based on their size, insulation type, and installation method. It's essential to select conductors with sufficient ampacity to handle the continuous load and any anticipated inrush current. Voltage drop is another important consideration, especially in long circuit runs. Excessive voltage drop can cause equipment to malfunction or operate inefficiently. The NEC recommends limiting voltage drop to a certain percentage of the source voltage. Calculate the voltage drop in the circuit and ensure it falls within acceptable limits. Proper grounding and bonding are essential for electrical safety. Grounding provides a low impedance path for fault current to return to the source, allowing the overcurrent device to trip and clear the fault. Bonding ensures that all metal parts of the electrical system are at the same potential, reducing the risk of electric shock. Follow the NEC requirements for grounding and bonding to ensure a safe installation. Regular maintenance and inspection are crucial for ensuring the long-term reliability and safety of the electrical system. Inspect circuit breakers, conductors, and other components for signs of damage or wear. Test circuit breakers periodically to verify they are functioning properly. Address any issues promptly to prevent potential problems. Furthermore, consider using soft starters or other inrush current limiting devices. These devices can reduce the magnitude of the inrush current, minimizing the stress on the electrical system and reducing the risk of nuisance tripping. Soft starters gradually increase the voltage applied to the load, reducing the inrush current. Finally, documentation is key. Maintain accurate records of the electrical system, including circuit diagrams, equipment specifications, and inspection reports. This documentation can be valuable for troubleshooting, maintenance, and future modifications. In summary, dealing with high startup currents requires a comprehensive understanding of electrical codes, circuit breaker characteristics, equipment specifications, and best practices for electrical system design and maintenance. By carefully considering these factors, you can ensure safe and reliable electrical installation. Now, let's consider the practical steps involved in evaluating a situation with a high startup current and ensuring compliance with the NEC. Firstly, gather all relevant information. This includes the equipment's nameplate data, manufacturer's specifications, circuit breaker trip curves, and any applicable local codes or regulations. Secondly, calculate the expected startup current. Use the equipment specifications to determine the magnitude and duration of the inrush current. If the manufacturer doesn't provide this information, you may need to use empirical measurements or consult with an electrical engineer. Thirdly, compare the startup current to the circuit breaker's trip curve. Determine whether the startup current falls below the trip curve for the given duration. If it does, the circuit breaker should not trip during startup. If it exceeds the trip curve, you may need to consider using a larger circuit breaker or an inrush current limiting device. Fourthly, verify that the circuit breaker is properly sized for the continuous load. The circuit breaker must be rated at least 125% of the continuous load. If the startup current requires a larger circuit breaker, ensure that the conductors are also sized appropriately to handle the increased current. Fifthly, consider the impact of the starter current on other equipment in the electrical system. High inrush currents can cause voltage dips, which may affect the performance of other sensitive equipment. If necessary, implement measures to mitigate voltage dips, such as using a dedicated circuit or installing a voltage regulator. Sixthly, consult with a qualified electrical engineer. If you are unsure about any aspect of the electrical system design or NEC compliance, seek the advice of a professional electrical engineer. They can provide expert guidance and ensure that the installation meets all applicable requirements. Seventhly, obtain approval from local authorities. Before proceeding with any electrical work, obtain the necessary permits and approvals from local authorities. This will ensure that the installation is inspected and meets all applicable codes and regulations. Eighthly, document all work performed. Keep detailed records of the electrical system design, calculations, and inspections. This documentation can be valuable for future maintenance and troubleshooting. Ninthly, conduct regular inspections. Periodically inspect the electrical system to ensure that it is functioning properly and that there are no signs of damage or wear. Address any issues promptly to prevent potential problems. Tenthly, provide training to personnel. Ensure that all personnel who work on the electrical system are properly trained and qualified. This will help to prevent accidents and ensure that the system is operated safely and efficiently. In addition to these practical steps, it's also important to understand the underlying principles of electrical system design and operation. This includes a thorough understanding of the NEC electrical theory and best practices for electrical safety. Continuous learning and professional development are essential for staying up to date with the latest codes and technologies. Electrical engineering is a constantly evolving field, and it's important to remain current with the latest advancement. Participate in industry conferences, attend training courses, and read technical publications to expand your knowledge and skills. Collaboration and communication are also key. Work closely with other professionals, such as electrical contractors, inspectors, and engineers, to ensure that the electrical system is designed and installed correctly. Share your knowledge and expertise with others to promote a culture of safety and excellence. By following these guidelines, you can effectively address situations involving high startup currents and ensure compliance with the NEC. Remember that electrical safety is paramount, and it's always best to err on the side of caution. If you have any doubts or concerns, consult with a qualified professional.